Okay, Ultra Bee. One good way to make a cool finisher. You take that sword off your back, raise it up high so lightning strikes it, and then swoosh! And that should blow up the monster of the week. And that's not me, folks. Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. We're taking a look at a figure this time around that I've had in my collection for quite a while now, but just haven't taken the time to review it. So now we're going to get around to taking a look at something. From 2015, we have the Ultra Bee team. This was a set that was released back in 2015 for the Robots in Disguise toy line and animated series. It was done as a gift set and contained all four of these figures: Strongarm, Sideswipe, Bumblebee, and Grimlock. Now, all the figures came as is, so they don't really have any accessories. The only other accessory that came with the toy was the sword. And of course, before we go too far into this, I want to give a shout out to Anne, a long supporter of the channel. She gave me this toy a long time ago, and I do apologize to her for how long it has taken me to get around to reviewing this. Every time I had the opportunity, something else would crop up. But this is one that you can still find relatively easily on the secondary market. And he is a one-of-a-kind combiner. We'll kind of go over the combiner's history in a little bit. We're going to take a look at each one of these guys individually, just in case you happen to buy them loose and separate. First off, we'll take a look here at Bumblebee. Now, the lore is kind of implying that this Bumblebee is the same character as one featured in several of the Transformers series, going all the way back to Transformers Prime. So it's implied he's the same one from the Prime series, but he was also featured in several others, which would also include Rescue Bots, the aforementioned Robots in Disguise cartoon, the Rescue Bots Academy cartoon, and of course the War for Cybertron video game and its subsequent versions, and the Cybertron Adventures series. Which, of course, throughout a lot of these, Bumblebee had several voice actors, including many that are well known for many of the other roles that they have portrayed. Like, for starters, in Transformers Prime, Bumblebee was voiced by veteran voice actor Frank Welker, who has portrayed a number of different characters in different series. Some of his most famous include providing the voice of Dr. Claw in Inspector Gadget. And of course, in Transformers, he is famously known for many of his roles in the Generation 1 era, most specifically Megatron. Moving along to a few of the other series as well. In the Robots in Disguise cartoon, he was voiced by Will Friedle, I hope I pronounced that right, who would later on also provide the voice of Terry McGinnis in the Batman Beyond comic cartoon. So, Bumblebee was Batman. How cool is that? But of course, to go even further, in the War for Cybertron video game, Bumblebee was voiced by Johnny Young Bosch, the former second Black Power Ranger from the Mighty Morphin era. So, Bumblebee has been Batman and a Power Ranger as well. Bumblebee's got a more impressive than most actors do. At any rate, let's take a good look here at Bumblebee. He's got a little special symbol here on his chest. This was to be used at the time when the Robots in Disguise mobile game was out. Scanning this with your phone would allow you to have Ultra Bee as a playable character. The combined form. So, kind of a neat little feature, if that's your thing. I myself don't have a phone that's like that, so really isn't my thing. Now, if there's a downside to these figures, it's that most of them do not have any posability whatsoever, and Bumblebee here is among them. You really can't move him around much, except you can spread his legs apart, but his arms tend to get in the way. You can fold them back and go a little further, but that's generally about it. Oh yeah, and pressing the button on his chest will pop up the giant robot head. So we gotta be careful with that. The spring mechanism's very sensitive on this thing. Okay, to transform this Bumblebee, it's a very simple process since this was designed for rather young children. It's not as simple as many of them that are designed now for real young children, but it's still pretty simple. First step is that we fold the little head down into his body like that. Then we're going to come down here and we squeeze his legs together. We'll turn him around a bit because we got to fold the arms so they go into the side. So here we go. Head popped up again. Very sensitive. I wasn't kidding about that. Well, once we get that in, we take the heels of his feet and fold them down so that they form the front end of the car. It's kind of done up as a stylized version of a Camaro, which kind of fits, seeing as most of the modern fans of Bumblebee would recognize him more as the Camaro from the live-action films. Of course, he's on some little wee plastic wheels here. And he rolls pretty good. He's got a good amount of clearance there. Alright, let's get the next one out. Alright, next up we're going to take a look at is Sideswipe. Sideswipe, of course, is a character that's long been in the series, even going back to the Generation 1 days. But this one is portrayed differently. Instead of being the younger brother to Sunstreaker and something of a more quiet warrior, this version of Sideswipe is described best as a bad boy. A lone wolf fighter. He heeds the call when needed, but more or less tends to like to do things by himself. In the Robots in Disguise cartoon, Sideswipe was voiced by Darren Criss, who's also known for being Blaine Anderson on Glee and the Music Meister on the CW versions of Supergirl and The Flash. So there you go, something interesting to go with. Of course, Sideswipe here has no articulation whatsoever due to the way the toy is designed. So, You can't even move the arms out. They don't rotate up, they just stay there at the sides. And he's got nothing here in the legs. So transforming him, it's also a simple process. You just make sure the arms are connected in at the sides. They should just pop into place. Okay, yes they are in place, they're not moving. And then we come back here to his feet, rotate the section with the wheels down so that it doesn't go any further, and then you bring the hood down. And then there we have it. Sideswipe turns into something that looks like a red sports car. Which is kind of fitting, because in his Generation 1 days, Sideswipe was a red sports car. Most notably a Lamborghini Countach LP500. Beautiful looking car back in those days. And of course the downside as well with this is the back end of the car, because you can still see his head. So it's kind of a downside to this. But again, he's on some decent wheels. He rolls okay. He's not the best. I think the pointy end of his head here is kind of dragging on the ground. Alright, let's get our next one. Alright, next up we have is Strongarm. Strongarm is the only girl on the team. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's been nice to see that the Transformers have been adding more and more female characters to the lineup and putting some of them in more prominent spots. It's a trend I do hope continues. Strongarm is a law enforcement cadet. So she was thrilled to be assigned with Bumblebee until she saw how his loose command style worked with her by-the-book approach. That and the fact that she doesn't like working with the reformed criminal Grimlock, or with the fact that Sideswipe enjoys picking fights with her. Strongarm in the cartoon was voiced by Constance Zimmer. He's best known for being Dana Gordon in Entourage, Claire Sims on Boston Legal, and as Janine Sikorsky on House of Cards. She's currently playing in the series Unreal. And as for Strongarm herself, we are supposed to be getting a new Strongarm figure in the Legacy line. Which I wish I had at the moment, but we've talked about that enough. About how we're not finding anything. But alright. The same deal with her is the same that applies with Sideswipe. She has no articulation at all. So that really kind of is terrible, but again, this combiner was designed more for younger children. So again, to transform her, all we got to do is fold her arms into the side, and there we go. Strongarm becomes a police truck. Which isn't bad per se, but I've seen that on the pictures. She has some white paint applications around the side of the truck, and this one does not have any other than the prerequisite paint to make her lights on the top. So this is a small disappointment in reality. And again, how does she roll? She rolls a little bit better than Sideswipe. Not quite as good as Bumblebee, but seeing as only 3 of them become cars, I would definitely say she's definitely a close second in how well she can roll on the ground. Alright, time to bring up the last one. And last up, we have Grimlock. Grimlock, of course, is a reformed criminal who's something of an uncontrollable brute for them to have on their team. Bumblebee appreciates having an oversized mechanical dinosaur on their team, but this version of Grimlock, like the more famous Generation 1 version, tends to both overestimate and underestimate his opponents and his own strength. But still, if he didn't do that, then he wouldn't be Grimlock. However, apparently this version of Grimlock, upon coming to Earth, has discovered he has a mortal fear of kittens, of all things. Weird. Now, in the Robots in Disguise cartoon, Grimlock's dinosaur roars are provided by Frank Welker, but his main voice actor is Kahari Payton. I hope I pronounced that right. He's been known for portraying Cyborg in a lot of the DC Comics works, but also did a stint in Young Justice as Aqualad, Black Lightning, and the Black Manta. He was also Ripcord in the animated G.I. Joe Renegades series, and even appeared in a couple of films alongside Lance Henriksen, who was famously Bishop in the Aliens movie. But probably his best known role for many of us was being Azrael in the Batman games Arkham City and Arkham Knight. So cool, I didn't realize that, so wow. That's kind of neat. Now, out of all of the toys in this pack, Grimlock here does have articulation. We can rotate his arms all the way at the shoulder, just like that. And show you that the other one does it too. That's pretty much all we get. Well, like I warned you ahead of time, folks, this one's pretty basic. Alright, now to transform Grimlock, we've got a separating here at the upper body. It'll fold down his head on this side, so it goes all the way in, but of course on this opposite side it has a little bit for his shoulder blades, so that needs to be folded in as well. Once those are in place, there's something else that's supposed to... the green protrusions here now get raised up. Like so. And they seem to imply there's an area here for a dinosaur tail, but I am not feeling it. Keep checking here. Yep, nuts. Oh, that's why it's the sword. The sword apparently can double as Grimlock's tail when wedged in properly. It can function as his tail. Really goes in through here or something. Oh, this is fun. Yeah, we'll just leave it off. I don't particularly think highly of that, especially when the instructions aren't real clear as to how it connects on, and I don't see any open holes, so At any rate, we connect him together. Get him connected together like so, and of course here on his arms we got to fold in the hands, rotate them downwards, so that way he can stand and look kind of silly here. I really don't see how adding the sword as his tail is going to make the look any better. This thing looks pretty silly as is. Especially when you consider the fact that the head doesn't really connect together, so all in all, this one, I gotta say it's my least favorite on all the alt modes. I mean, at least Sideswipe and Strongarm are functional looking cars. This just looks dumb. I gotta say it, folks. That one's pretty terrible. Alright, to form them all up into Ultra Bee, you need the 3 cars in their vehicle mode, and Grimlock has to be in his robot mode. I haven't pulled the fists or the head back up since they're just going to get folded up anyways. Alright, to get them ready, first we'll start with Bumblebee. You'll get the rear sections of the car, where his arms were, pop them out, and we fold them onto the top of the car. Then we're going to come up front here to the front wheels, and they will pop out and swing to the side. Just like that. And we pop his legs out. And inside each leg, there's this little colored protrusion in here. It's blue and black, so you'll fold those out. And then you're going to... Hold on a second. Okay, again, folks, I'm sorry about the interruptions. Hopefully we're done with them. No more surprises. Alright, well, you got his... Well, we got Bumblebee here opened up like this. You'll reach inside the legs. You'll see a little spot here with a blue arrow. That area should come out. You have to bend the leg at the knee a bit. Yeah, bend the leg at the knee a bit to help it get out. Because it is attached to that portion. Get it started. And start bending, get it up. And then it should connect because there's a couple of protrusions sticking out from the chest. And it should connect to a couple of special holes done up along the side. Just gotta make sure it gets up high enough that it can go in like that. Keep that piece out. And then once that's done, we fold up these little side panels. So back in place, and then push the button, pop out the head. So there we go, we got the upper body ready. To get Sideswipe ready here, come down here where his legs are, and you will fold out the legs so that it forms a hand. Goes like that. Come here by his head and you can fold down his entire chest cavity. And you just pull him apart a little bit. He's the left arm, so we'll rotate the thumb out that way. For Strongarm, she transforms exactly the same way as Sideswipe. And she forms the other arm. Now, Grimlock here will form the legs. The first thing you'd have to do is fold his hands in, which we've already done. Then we would separate the body a bit and make sure that the head and the shoulder piece are folded inward. We've already done that. Then it is basically, we have to bring up and bring up his arms, because they're going to help form the feet. Of course, bend the dinosaur legs down like so, so they're all together. Spread them open like this, and you'll come down here to the robot feet. So to raise them up a bit, and then fold them towards the back. Make sure to bend the joint that way before you fold them down. Otherwise it will not go. Oh yeah, I should rotate these down here. So that way we've got more connection towards the front. Grimlock forms the waist and the legs. So we get Bumblebee and snap him together like so. Strongarm goes over here on the right. And Sideswipe onto the left. And then there you have it, folks. Ultra Bee. Now, according to the lore, the Bee team apparently, in a battle against the Stunticons, ended up in a battle at a nuclear waste disposal site. The reaction to it and the missile strike caused them to accidentally merge into Ultra Bee. And after a second accidental merger, Bumblebee was able to get their medic and scientist Fix-It to figure out a way to allow them to combine. Since their combination method is a bit unorthodox, it makes Ultra Bee different from the other combiners in the sense that the combined form does not have a brain of its own or personality. So the four characters here all have to work together even more closely than the other combiners, as the other combiners would all take input from everybody that's combined together with them, but it also had a small mind of its own that would allow it to operate to a degree when the other components could not come up with a solution. The only exception to that, of course, was Menasor, as he would go crazy when he couldn't settle the other robots down. Now we'll take a look here at Ultra Bee's articulation, and even though his component guys barely had any, he's got some for himself. I mean, the arms do rotate at the shoulders all the way around. You do have the ability to move their thumbs. You can spread his legs apart about so far. He does have a thigh cut. His legs, unfortunately, do not raise at the hip because of the way the ball joint is set up, nor does he have any other bending joints. But you can twist his foot at the ankle. Oh yeah, we also wanted to mention that we do have a sword for him here. It has a couple of red protrusions on it, which means that when you don't want him to hold the sword, they are spaced apart enough that you can store it on the back by pressing it into these slots on Bumblebee. So we can carry it like so, or you use the protrusions in the hand grip and mount it inside one of his hands. And you just move the thumb up to help secure it. And then there you have it. Ultra Bee has his sword. So now what do I think about Ultra Bee? It is a nice and interesting character to have as a combiner. Unfortunately, the toy's a little bit of a disappointment. I mean, yeah, I get it that it was designed and built primarily for younger children, because, I mean, it even says here right on the instructions, it's recommended for 6 and above. But the simplicity of it kind of makes him a little dull to play with, or even to have. Because in a lot of ways, many of them just don't look right. Part of it's from the paint jobs, or lack thereof. Part of it is a lot of the way that Grimlock was designed so it could accommodate turning them into the combiner. Unfortunately, this is the only version of Ultra Bee that has been released. And I kind of would like to see a modern remake of him be done, you know? The Legacy series so far has shown us Menasor, and at the time that I'm filming this, I don't have Volcanicus yet, but I'm liking how Volcanicus is shaping up. So far, I have not seen or heard word about a new combiner in the new Legacy line that's coming next year. But I wouldn't mind seeing this one get a modern remake that doesn't have it as simplified. One that will allow us to really get a good figure. Hopefully that will happen, but only time will tell. At any rate, that's my review of the Ultra Bee team from Robots in Disguise. I hope you all enjoyed it. And please do remember that if you like the content we feature on this channel, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.